Welcome to Satsang. So wonderful to be together with you all. This is going to be because I have to go into America for a few weeks. I was planning on going next week, but due to some circumstances there, I'm actually having to go this week. So I'm so happy to be with you all this evening. We'll miss you over the next couple of weeks. I'll be back the first week of May. We'll put signs up and things like that when we know exactly what date we're going to start again. If you're going to still be here, it's a very special blessing for you to be able to be in Rishikesh for such a long time, and I will look so forward to seeing you all then. And if not, I'll be doing some live things when I'm out. They'll put them on our social media pages. There'll be notifications of that, but nothing compares to sitting here in the evening together. So I will miss you all and look very much forward to being together when I get back. I'll mention that again at the end for those who come in late, but I wanted to mention it at the beginning as well for anyone who has to leave early. I want to become a vegan. How do I begin? You know, each of us has a different personality. Some of us are the all-at-once, cold turkey, pull off the Band-Aid in one quick rip. Others are the take it very slowly, one step at a time, move very slowly. Neither is right or wrong. On a personal level, especially with things around food, I find it a lot easier to just make that decision in full. It seems a lot easier once you've decided that you're going to change something about your diet. Go vegan, give up sugar. I mean, just different lifestyle, diet choices that so many people make. I think it's easier to actually just do it rather than to say, well, okay, today I'm going to have milk 3 days in the week, and I'm going to have eggs 4 days in the week, and then next week I'll have milk twice and eggs 3 times. And I think that just draws it out unnecessarily. So how do you begin? Well, the first and most important place to begin is with the internal awareness of why you're doing it. The moment that internal awareness is there, it becomes not difficult at all. I mean, I've been a vegetarian since I was 15. I've been a vegan since late teenage years, here in this ashram where we have our own cows who are treated like members of the family, and their babies stay with them and live with them and nurse, and nobody ever, gets pulled away. And when the cows stop giving milk, we still keep them. There's no sense of, oh, you no longer give milk, therefore now you get killed. Everything is very much like a family. So here in the ashram, I started drinking milk again. but I don't drink it anywhere else. And what I have found is that when there is a very strong moral value, ethical aspect to it, it's really quite easy to do. Like anything that you've got a strong sense of morals or ethics about. The dilemma comes when you don't have a strong sense. And then it's just, sort of a dietary fad that you see other people doing and you decide you want to do it. And that's still great. But if you're going to hold on to it, you need to actually have a deep awareness of why. And these days, there's so much research, so much literature available on animal agriculture being pretty much the single greatest contributor to climate change. One of the greatest contributors to hunger in the world, to our water shortage in the world. I mean, just to give you an idea, the amount of water that goes into a meal of hamburgers is the same amount of water you use in bathing for 6 months, assuming you bathe every day. And assuming you bathe actually in the more water-intensive way that those of us from the West are used to, rather than India. In India, they bathe by filling up a bucket and bathe from there. In the West, we have shower heads, and out of the shower head, water comes. An 8-minute shower every day for 6 months uses the same amount of water, approximately, that goes into the production of 1 meal of hamburgers. So if you care about water, you're going to stop eating it. If you compare the number of people we can feed with the grain that we grow, you can feed 15 times as many people with the rice, the wheat, the soy, the corn that we grow. If we actually turn it into pasta and bread or rice, rather than feeding it to animals who we end up killing for their meat. So we're literally, every time you eat meat, we're literally saying, let 15 other people go hungry. I deserve their food. Now, nobody with any moral anchoring believes that. So if you want to shift to a vegan diet, just fill yourself with all of these very powerful pieces of information that will always be there in your mind if there's ever temptation, to just remind yourself. It's not just about violence to animals. It's actually about violence to the planet. So like with any spiritual decision we make, so if you think about it as a diet, it's going to be really hard to stick to. Because diets in general are very hard to stick to. They're us against, sort of the mind against the yearnings of the body. So the body is clamoring for sugar or salt or fat or carbohydrates or whatever it may be. And the mind is saying, no, 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 no. And in general, for most people, that tends not to last very long, which is why people go on these kind of yo-yo diet situations. But if it's your values and your morals about something that really matters to you, you live it forever without even thinking about it. I mean, if you found yourself, let's say, at one phase of your life, and you were telling a lot of lies that you knew were hurting people, and then you came onto a spiritual path and you realized that negative ripple impact on your family, on your friends, on your own spiritual well-being of all of the dishonesty, you would decide, I need to be honest. And chances are that would be a decision that would stick with you because it became a core value, rather than just something that you said, okay, from now on, no more sugar. It actually is aligned with a sense of who you are. So if you're choosing to become a vegan, first of all, congratulations. And second of all, really make sure that you're clear on how this aligns with things you believe in. Are you against world hunger? Are you against climate change? Are you against water wastage? Are you against environmental destruction? Well, then eating vegan makes perfect sense. Because it is the way of eating that is in alignment with all those things you believe in. So just remind yourself in that way. And if you feel yourself tempted to sit down to a meal of hamburgers, just ask yourself, when did I decide that I deserve the food of 15 other people? Like on what level? Am I okay letting 15 people starve because I want to eat steak or hamburgers or whatever it may be? And then you'll come back to yourself, back to your own values. And it'll become very easy. So begin exactly where you are. Begin now. And then just keep strengthening it. And it's a beautiful choice. It's no longer a choice that we make just for the animals. It's a choice now that we make for the planet. Yes?
I just wanted to ask a little question which adds on to that. When we're trying to internalize these values about vegetarianism, about what resonates with us, what is right, I suppose people can look at a hamburger and see the pain of the cow. So it can be from a felt sense of pain. Other people can look at it and say, it's the right thing. I feel a love for the cow, therefore I don't do it. A love for the cow, therefore I won't eat it. So, one comes from a place of seeing pain in the action, the other one comes and seeing love in the action. So is there an order of progress in becoming...
whatever works for you. Whatever works. The question is, the negative motivation or positive motivation. Do we say, I love cows, or I love my fellow human beings, and therefore I don't want to hurt them. I love the trees, therefore I don't want them to be cut down. Compared to saying, to be turned into a hamburger caused pain for a cow. To sleep hungry or die of starvation is causing pain to children. He's asking, is it hierarchical in any way, better or worse, to use that positive love motivation or the negative pain? I don't think so. I think really whatever works. For me, when I became a vegetarian and then a vegan, I wasn't yet on a spiritual path. I certainly didn't think the cows were holy. I couldn't even tell you if or when or where I had actually ever encountered an actual cow. I mean, as sad as that sounds, but having grown up in LA, they don't have cows at the zoo. It's more wild animals. I don't know. I can't even remember in my childhood whether I actually ever encountered a living, breathing cow. So I certainly didn't become a vegetarian because I had a love for cows. What I had was a really kind of immediate and visceral reaction to the fact that an animal was not meant to be eaten, and that there was something inherently wrong and violent about that, and that I didn't want to be part of violence. So for me, it was an act against violence. And it wasn't until I had already become a vegetarian and I started reading up on it, because my mother, of course, said to me, it was brilliant, when I announced at 15 that I was a vegetarian, she said, Okay. She said, you can eat whatever you want. She said, until and unless some doctor tells me that you are malnourished or underweight, I'm not going to interfere. She said, but don't expect me to be your advocate. So if we are out to dinner with people or at someone's house and they want you to eat meat, don't turn to me like I'm somehow going to save you from that situation. You better know what you're going to say. And so I started reading, and once I started reading, that was when I actually discovered the impact that it had on world hunger, the impact that it had on the environment. But again, at 15, 16, I certainly loved trees, but I was not an avid environmentalist. I was not somebody working, ardently to end world hunger. I was, in general, a caring, compassionate teenager. But for me, it was much more a visceral response to the pain that surely this animal had to go through to end up on my plate, and then the pain of starving children. I mean, these were the days of the Ethiopian, famine, and we were all seeing pictures all the time about kids starving in Ethiopia, and the idea somehow that those pictures were due to what I ate, even though it obviously wasn't a direct causation, but I understood. I understood that this way of eating was causing violence in our world. And so that worked for me. It wasn't until 10 years later when I was in India and started really discovering love for creation in my heart. That was the first 10 years was all about, I don't want to be part of violence or harm. That makes me sad. Children dying of starvation makes me sad. I don't want to be part of it. The Amazon being cut down makes me sad. I don't want to be part of it. It's wrong. But I think you could just as easily, if you happen to be someone who grew up with cows and loved them and loved animals or had a deep awareness of your love for the planet, you could just as easily make the same decision out of love for all creatures. Yes.
नमस्ते साध्वी जी, मैं हिंदी में पूछूं?
बिल्कुल.
हम लोग कॉमन मैन की लाइफ में इतना स्ट्रेस और इतना डिप्रेशन है और आप इतना पीसफुल और हैप्पी रहती है, उसके लिए हम क्या करें?
So she said, we the common people live with so much stress and depression, and you look so peaceful. What do we do? How do we get there? Stress is the response to believing that which I want to happen isn't happening or isn't going to happen in the future. In this moment, jo main chahti hu nahi ho raha hai. Therefore, I am stressed. What I want is not happening. I'm stressed. Or depressed, depending on how I'm internalizing it. How much agency I feel in any way to change it. That which I want to happen in the future, I am worried it won't happen in the future. Stressed about the future. But you realize it's all about what I want to happen. The easiest way out of stress is to let go of the expectations. If I'm in Delhi a lot. I don't like to be in Delhi, but I find myself in Delhi a lot just for different programs and events and whatnot. And one of the phenomena that I've noticed is very interesting. There'll be a program or a meeting, some kind of an event that, let's say it starts at 7 o'clock. Everyone, or 99% of people, show up to that meeting or event or program at 7:30, 7:45, 8, 8:15, 8:30 with, oh my God, the traffic. Now, you think you live here. It's a city full of traffic. Yes, it should only be a half an hour drive. And people will say, "Wo to bas aadha ghante ki rasta hai, it's just a half an hour drive. Today it took an hour and a half." And you say, well, it's a half hour drive if you did it at 2 in the morning. But if you expect that at 6 p.m. in the evening you're going to make it in half an hour, you're going to be stressed. Because you've had an unreasonable expectation. And then in the car, everybody's yelling at everybody, it's your fault, we're late, your fault, you that... Because we had a very unreasonable expectation, which was that somehow the streets of Delhi should part for us to be able to make it through. And they didn't. So we are stressed. The secret to peace is letting go of expectations. It's not resignation. It's not that you've given up. It's not that I don't have any hope. It's nothing like that. It's just an awareness that, in general, expectations are not met. Therefore, I have 2 choices. Hold on to those expectations and be stressed or angry, or let go of those expectations and be peaceful. Somebody says they're going to do something for you, they don't do it, okay. Well, if I had been really attached and really, really expecting it, you get angry. How dare you not do it? You told me you were going to do it. You promised. So we're stressed, we're depressed. But if you allow for the possibility that that which you expect might not happen, that actually the world is not your puppet. And every single person, it's not that people want to let you down. It's not that they're trying to disappoint you. They're not trying to cause you stress and depression. They're just all living and navigating their own karmic journeys. And their role here is not keep you calm and happy. There's not one person on this earth who came onto earth with a stamp on their rear end that said, your dharma is keep this woman calm and happy. Everybody's got their own dharma, their own karmic package. We're all intersecting. But as long as my emotional state is hooked into other people's actions, I'm going to be stressed that they won't do what I want. And I'm going to be either angry or depressed when it turns out that I'm right and they didn't. So why bother? Learn acceptance. Learn unconditional love. So it doesn't mean that we disconnect from the world. And of course, by the way, it's impossible to live without any expectations. We have them. We have an expectation as we do arti, for example, that Ganga is not going to suddenly rise up in a flood and sweep us all off, or we wouldn't be able to do arti. We have an expectation any time we walk into a building or a home that the contractor who built that building did so sincerely, professionally, and that the roof is not going to fall upon us. Otherwise, we would never be able to walk into any building. We have an expectation when we go to sleep at night that when we wake up in the morning, our loved ones are still going to be there, that they're not going to die overnight, that we're not going to die overnight, that our house isn't going to burn down overnight. Otherwise, we'd never be able to fall asleep. So you have to have some degree of expectation. In relationship, we have to, of course, expect that people are going to act with honesty, with kindness, with caring. We have to have some level of that expectation. But we hold all of those expectations with the awareness that ultimately we don't actually have any control over it. The only thing we have control over is our own reaction. Because there will be times when what you expect doesn't happen. And the question is how you react. There was a beautiful, beautiful saint who has since passed away named Swami Dayanandji Maharaj, who used to live just across Ganga in Rishikesh. And he said, I don't care how much money you make. The only definition of success, someone had asked him about success and its definition. He said the only definition of success that means anything is how you respond to the inevitable times. Inevitable means it's gonna happen. The inevitable times that the universe does not act the way you think it should. That is how we should be judging our success. Not by the positions or the titles or anything like that. But when what I want doesn't happen, or what I don't want does happen, because remember, it's inevitable. Not every time, but sometimes. How do I respond? That response is the meter I use to decide, am I successful? And along with that, you become peaceful. So it's actually very simple. Jab tak meri भीतर की स्वस्थिति जो है, जब तक बाहर की स्थिति, परिस्थिति के ऊपर डिपेंड करते हैं, तो फिर मैं स्ट्रेस रहूंगी, क्योंकि परिस्थिति जो है ऊपर नीचे जाती रहता है. लोग तो करते ही जो करेंगे, लेकिन मेरी स्वस्थिति जो है वो तो मेरे ऊपर है, किसी और के ऊपर नहीं होना चाहिए. तो हमें ऐसे अनुभव होना चाहिए कि दूसरों के ऊपर मेरा कोई कंट्रोल नहीं है. ना स्टॉक मार्केट, ना वेदर, वो कंट्रोल नहीं है. एक ही चीज़ है जिसके ऊपर मेरा कंट्रोल है, स्वस्थिति. So let us use that ability and make our internal situation something that's peaceful. You know, for me, on a personal level, I find myself always asking myself, things will happen, I say, I've trained myself over the years. I used to just react. And now I find myself literally saying to myself, is this worth losing your peace over? Is it worth it? Every once in a while, something is. Every once in a while, there really is something that you think, yeah, you know what? I need to be upset about this. Or yeah, you know what? This is not okay. But the vast, overwhelming majority of the times, I say it's not worth it. And even in the times when it is worth it, you don't lose yourself. It's just you recognize this is a situation that needs to be changed. But you're still not lost, not drowning in stress or anger or depression. Because you realize that you have the ability to control that. तो आपके हाथ में है. Beautiful. Other questions? Yes.
Hi. First of all, thank you so much for these sessions. I think they've been the highlight of my stay so far. I've really, really loved them. I feel like I hear all the time that when you come... Yeah, Tika?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear her in the back? No. Okay, speak a little bit louder.
I feel like I hear all the time that when you come to an ashram, like you've been invited to the ashram, and it's no coincidence that you're here, and you're here for something powerful. And if you open, you can receive things that you just never really imagined, you know? But I just feel like I'm missing something. Like I just feel like I'm not tapping into something, and there's something that I'm missing. I don't know why I'm feeling like that or what I can do to change it.
Beautiful. Slow down. What's happened wherever we go in life, even when we go to ashrams, is we keep ourselves very busy. You want to make sure that you attend this and this and this and that and do this and make sure, and oh my God, we should get the books and I should read this and this. And so you fill it up, and that's beautiful. The activities are all deeply meaningful and beautiful. The books are enriching. And there needs to be space in which you simply allow yourself to be open and receive. Most of the things that you go to, not all, but many of them, are things that inspire and uplift and teach our minds. We're learning something. But in order for real transformation to happen, it has to drop from the head into the heart. Now, the head is great. We should learn things. I love learning. But you don't want to mistake learning something for actually having it percolate into you and change you. And so you want to make sure that you give yourself time to literally just be, in which you're not hurrying from one thing to another. You're not trying to make sure that you're not missing something. Because in this irony, that fear of I'm missing something leads to so much activity in the mind and in the body that what you actually miss is simply dropping into the self. These are places, this land is a place in which long before there were classes and courses and bookstores and printing presses and satsangs or anything like that, people were coming and meditating. There's a power here. There's a power that draws people. And yes, you're right, there's a power in ashrams in general. It's a special invitation. And here there is something additionally special, which is the land itself. But you've got to give yourself the openness to actually connect with it. And so make sure you take some time every day and just sit quietly on the banks of Ganga. Early morning, late evening, sit quietly on the banks of Ganga. Make sure to carve out time, because the other dilemma becomes if we do have free time, then the mind says, oh my God, I need to catch up on my emails, or, let me see what's happening on Instagram. And so even time that we had that was free time, we fill it up. Allow yourself to just move a little bit slower. As you're walking from your room to the class, from the class to a meal, down to Aarti, from Aarti, rather than always using that time to be chatting with someone or looking at your phone, see whether you can just walk in silence. Just feeling your feet upon this sacred earth. Can you feel yourself breathing this sacred air? And just allow yourself to really slow down and go in. What you're missing, everything on the outside is here. What you're missing is you are not there because you are moving too quickly. So the moment that you bring you into the full moment, then you'll realize it's all there. Even more than you expected or hoped for. Beautiful. Yes.
Pranam Sadhviji. It is believed the Creator has taken some powers He's kept with Him, and the power of freedom of mind He's given us. So we take a lot of advantage of that. In spite of practicing yoga, in spite of practicing regular meditation, we tend to do things which are wrong. We know they are wrong. If you could give us some practical things so we have some control and we don't misuse the freedom of mind which the Creator has given us.
Beautiful. We do things that are wrong because we convince ourselves that they're okay. Very few people are able to do something that while they're doing it, they know is wrong, without giving themselves any justification or any rationalization. Most of us, even if deep within us we know it's wrong, while we're doing it, there's some story we're telling ourselves that is justifying it, why it's okay. And it's only afterwards that we say, oh God, I knew that was wrong. How could I do that again? And this is where the way out of that is, number one, being really mindful and really conscious. Again, slowing down so that everything we are saying or doing, we are being really mindful of it. What is it that's spurring me to do this? Why am I engaging in this behavior? What is the impetus? And just be mindful of it, be aware. Am I acting out of anger? Out of lust? Out of greed? Out of jealousy? Okay, well then stop wherever you are. Just stop and take a deep breath and wait for that emotion to subside before you continue acting. But we need to develop this ability to be mindful. We also need to really make a commitment to truth in our lives. Because honestly, most of us know our own BS. Like, we know it. We're not inventing new stories today. Most of us tell ourselves the same stories if we've been doing the same wrong thing. We're giving ourselves the same type of justifications and rationalizations over and over again. If we really commit ourselves to honesty, the moment that rationalization starts, we're going to say, not true. This is not truth. Not truth. And that's really important. Because inside we all know what's wrong. But we allow our mind to just go. You know, I always give this funny example. I say, if I were sitting here in front of you, and suddenly my arms started doing like this, and I said, oh, don't worry about that. That's just my crazy, silly arm. Yeah, it does whatever it wants sometimes. You'd think, there's something wrong with this lady. And if I then stood up and I started bouncing on my legs and doing my arms and my legs, and I said, yeah, you know, don't worry about that. Those are just my crazy arms and legs. You'd think, she really needs some help. Because we all know that our arms and our legs should be under our control. They don't just start doing things on their own. And if they do, that is a problem. And you need some kind of medical intervention for it. But our mind, which is essentially the steering wheel of our lives, the mind decides where we're going. You'd never buy a car without a steering wheel. But we allow this mind to just go wherever it wants. And we throw up our hands. We say, yeah, that's just my mind. We need to realize our mind needs to be in our control the same way that our hands and our legs are, even more. Because if I just do this, it's not really the end of the world. But if I let my mind go off, well, God, the amount of suffering that causes. So this is where we really dedicate ourselves to a spiritual practice of mindfulness, of consciousness, of meditation and working with our mind, of commitment to truth. So the minute that we start trying to BS ourselves, you know, our heart opens and says, not going to buy that today. It's not true. Happen as we are deep on a spiritual path is that engaging in behaviors we know are wrong, we stop enjoying it. My yoga teacher used to say something really interesting. People would come to him and say, I'm trying to quit smoking. Can you help me? And he would say, don't think about the smoking. Just do more yoga. Because the more yoga you do, there will come a day when you go to pick up a pack of cigarettes and you don't even want it. Where the smell of cigarette smoke nauseates you. Just do more yoga. And automatically those behaviors you're trying to stop will just become something that you no longer want. In the same way, the more deeply anchored you become in your spiritual practice, the more literally nauseated you will feel to find yourself telling lies, backstabbing somebody, cheating on somebody, doing something that you know is wrong. It'll just create an inner sense of nausea. That even if the mind didn't say it's wrong, you know intuitively it's wrong. And you don't want that feeling inside. Being in alignment that which I think, that which I do, that which I believe, is actually one of the greatest sources of joy and peace in our life. Being out of that alignment, thinking one thing but doing something else, creates a lot of internal discomfort. In psychology, we call it cognitive dissonance. It's a thing that doesn't feel good in us. And so the more anchored you become spiritually, the more clear you become about what your beliefs are, your values are, your ethics are, your priorities are, the more you're automatically going to start living them. Because to not live them just doesn't feel good. So you'll stop automatically. Beautiful. So we have a very special birthday before we conclude Satsang. It is our beloved Preeti's birthday today. So I'm going to ask Preeti to just stand up so everybody knows who Preeti is. And this beautiful, beautiful being has lived here at Parmarth for, the last, off and on, but mostly on for about, 15 years, something like that, 13 years, and is such an extraordinary being of light. You see her in Satsang, you see her teaching yoga, you see her in Arti. She's just such an embodiment of yes, whatever the moment needs, a yoga class, a meditation class, somebody behind the camera, something to be written, whatever it may be. It's just that beautiful bhakti, that beautiful love and devotion to service, to Pujya Swamiji, to the Guru, to Ganga, to humanity. So it's been such a beautiful joy. And in traditional satsang fashion, we sing happy birthday in as many languages as we happen to have in the audience on that given day. So we'll begin with Sanskrit from our Rishi Kumars. We'll then go into English. And then we'll move into whatever languages any of you from whatever countries you are from might speak. Pale aap log.
Sudinam Sudinam Janmadinam Tava Bhavatu Mangalam Janmadinam Tava Sudinam Sudinam Janmadinam Tava Bhavatu Mangalam Janmadinam Tava Vijayi Bhava Sarvatra Sarvada Bhavatu Mangalam Janmadinam Tava Sudinam Sudinam Janmadinam Tava Bhavatu Mangalam Janmadinam Tava Bhavatu Mangalam Janmadinam Tava Om Dirghayuscha Okhade Khanika Jasmai Jatva Khanamyahamma Atosvandirghayurbhutva Shatabalasha Virohatata.
Now we'll do English, which we all know, and then just raise your hand if you know any other language. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Preeti. Happy birthday to you. Yes.
I'll sing the way we sing in Dada's family.
Beautiful.
वाधाई हो वाधाई प्यारी प्रीति को वाधाई वाधाई हो वाधाई प्यारी प्रीति को वाधाई करे सिमरन सेवा करे जीवन सजाई करे सिमरन सेवा करे जीवन सजाई वाधाई हो वाधाई प्यारी प्रीति को वाधाई वाधाई हो वाधाई प्यारी प्रीति को वाधाई कराए सिमरन सेवा करे जीवन सजाई.
Beautiful. Other languages.
This is Dutch or Nederlands. You sing Dutch? Nederlands? Okay. Oh, echt?
Well, maybe you'll remember as she starts to sing.
Lang zal je leven, lang zal je leven, lang zal je leven in de gloria, in de gloria, in de gloria. Hippity hip, hurrah! Hippity hip, hooray! Hippity hip, hooray!
Other languages. Yes.
Portuguese from Brazil.
Wonderful.
Parabéns pra você nessa data querida. Muitas felicidades, muitos anos de vida. É pique, é pique, é festa, é festa. Ha, tim, bum, priti, priti.
Wonderful. Other languages. Yes.
Italian. Tanti auguri a te, tanti auguri a te, tanti auguri a Priti, tanti auguri a te.
German. Wonderful. यहाँ भैया. अच्छा यहाँ. Okay. और फिर यहाँ.
हिंदी में.
Hindi. Okay.
बार बार दिन ये आए, बार बार दिल ये गाए, तुम जियो हजारों साल, ये मेरी है आरज़ू. हैप्पी बर्थडे टू यू, हैप्पी बर्थडे टू यू, हैप्पी बर्थडे डियर प्रीति, हैप्पी बर्थडे टू यू.
Now German.
Zum Geburtstag viel Glück, zum Geburtstag viel Glück, zum Geburtstag, liebe Priti, zum Geburtstag viel Glück.
Any other languages? Yes, absolutely. Spanish.
Cumpleaños feliz, cumpleaños feliz, te deseamos, Priti. Cumpleaños feliz.
How wonderful. One other, yes.
Russian.
Russian. Wow.
С днем рождения тебя, с днем рождения тебя, с днем рождения, dear Priti, с днем рождения тебя.
And this woman can sing. Very nice. Get her on our Sangeet team. Any other languages? I'm sorry? I'm sure there is. Not that I know. Yes.
It's a wish. ಜನ್ಮದಿನದ ಶುಭಾಶಯಗಳು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ.
Beautiful. And we have special prasad that Preeti will pass out to you all for her birthday. But first, on behalf of you all, I will feed her. Or do we hand up any pasati? Good. Happy birthday. And now, why don't you take that, and you can pass out the laddus to everyone. Make sure that you get a laddu before you go. And as I mentioned in the beginning, in case anyone came in late, we will not be having satsang for the next few weeks because I have to go to America for a few weeks. I'll be back the first week of May. So check in on our Facebook pages or in the reception here at the ashram. Once we know exactly what date the next satsang will be, we'll put up a flyer and some notifications on social media and in the reception. And for those of you who will still be here, I look so forward to seeing you. Those of you who won't be, I look so forward to seeing you when you come back to Rishikesh, whenever that may be. And so